The grandson I'm truly proud of, my mother said, pointing to my sister's boy. Then she gazed at my son and stated, not the one constantly on his device. All applauded. Then she pushed the $5,000 note at me as a taunt. My gaze met hers, my pulse remaining steady. Moments later, their entire event imploded. Hook. First 10 seconds. Imagine spending your entire life as the family fixer, the reliable one, the go-to guy for every problem. Then imagine being publicly humiliated, having your son mocked, and handed a $5,000 bill for a party you didn't even agree to. What would you do when family love suddenly feels like a transaction? My name is Chris. I'm 35, a systems engineer. I'm the older child who somehow became the invisible one. For a living, I fix things. If you ask my family, I fix things for fun too. Cars, routers, budgets, even relationships, the ones I didn't break anyway. I've got a son, Max. He's 12 and absolutely obsessed with robotics. And yeah, his phone. I'm divorced, but we're on good terms, which in my family is a personal record for a healthy outcome. See, in my family, it's simple math. My younger sister, Anna, she's the golden one. She's got this effortless charm. People literally clap when she walks into a room. When I walk into a room, people hand me something to carry. My mom calls me steady. It's not a compliment. It's a job assignment. I grew up in a house where you earned your chair at the table by solving a problem someone else created. My dad, he'd install the problem. My mom would frame it as tradition. Anna would turn it into a performance. Me? I'd just show up with tools and a checkbook. So, when mom asked me to come to grandma's 80th birthday, rented ballroom, soft jazz, 100 people who remembered me as Annie's brother, I went. Because that's what steady sons do. I ironed a shirt. I told Max, you don't have to talk to anyone you don't want to. He nodded without looking up from his phone, but still packed his little robot kit. In case it's boring, he said. The ballroom was already buzzing when we arrived. White tablecloths, 2 eye sculptures for reasons unknown. A photo wall with gold foil balloons that spelled out family, which felt less like a celebration and more like a dare. Chris, Mom air kissed the air on both sides of my head. You look reliable. Hi, Mom. She squeezed Max's shoulders. There's the little man. Don't stay glued to that screen, okay? Look alive. Max said, okay, and tucked his phone into his pocket. Then Anna floated in. Sparkly dress, perfect hair, like she'd been cast to play favorite daughter on a network show. Her son, Leo, was in a tiny blazer, hair combed, dimple-armed, and ready. You made it, she said, as if it genuinely surprised her. I put you next to the kitchen door, so it's easy if the staff needs anything. Thoughtful, I said, my voice flatter than I intended. The speeches started an hour later. Dad's was short and sweet. He's better at sanding wood than sentences. Then Anna took the mic. She cried perfectly at the 2-minute mark, smiled perfectly at the 4-minute mark, and sat down to polite awe. Mom stood last. She held the microphone like a queen holds a scepter. Family, she began, is what we make of it. She pointed at Leo. And this is the grandson I'm actually proud of. Focused, present, helps his mother, a real gentleman. There was scattered laughter, like an audience watching something mean, but feeling safe to laugh because the target wouldn't make a scene. Her finger drifted to my table. She looked at Max, who had pulled out his phone to adjust a sensor on his robot chassis. Not the one who's always on his phone. My blood ran cold. I put my hand on Max's back. He sat straighter, put the phone away, his face blank. Mom kept going, smiling like she'd just donated to charity. Anyway, Grandma, we love you. As the clapping faded, Mom slid something toward me across the table, like a magician revealing a card. It wasn't a check, not a gift. It was the actual bill for the night, printed on thick paper like a diploma. $5,382.27. She'd circled it in pink pen and written, "Thanks, sweetheart," with a smiley face. Everyone at our table saw it. Someone made a clucking sound with their tongue. Anna called out, "You're the best, Chris." Dad pretended to forget his glasses. I stared at the total. My heartbeat was steady and slow, the way it gets when I'm tracing a short in a circuit, waiting for the one tiny spark that tells me exactly where the problem lives. Mom raised her glass to family. I lifted mine too. Water. No ice. Minutes later, their celebration collapsed. Not yet, though. First, we had to let the room exhale. First, The band had to start the next song. If you ask my mother about the word help, she'll define it as what Chris does. It started young. I was the kid who held the flashlight while Dad fixed the sink. Then I learned to actually fix the sink. Then everyone forgot Dad ever knew how to use a wrench. When I got my first engineering job, Mom said, "So, you're like, it's close enough?" The second week on the job, she called because the Wi-Fi smelled weird. I drove over at 10 p.m., replaced a melted power strip, and went home. That was the beginning of a habit. Chris will drive. Chris will pay. Chris will apologize for the weather. By 27, I'd helped Anna out of 3 temporary money issues. $600 for a parking boot. $1,200 just until Friday when a freelance check was late. $2,800 when her landlord didn't understand exposure is currency. Each time, there was a promise to pay me back. Each time, I said, "Don't worry about it." Because keeping score in my family is how you become the villain. When Max was born, I was 23. People think becoming a dad makes your parents become grandparents. That's not how it works in my house. My parents became critics with props. "What a small stroller," Mom said at the hospital. "Is he supposed to look like that?" Dad asked, pointing at my son's scrunched newborn face. They loved Max, I think. But their love had rules. If he was quiet, they'd say, "Good boy." If he squirmed or hid behind me at noisy events, they'd sigh, like he'd done it to them on purpose. When Anna had Leo 2 years later, the clouds parted and the angels descended with a marching band. Finally, Mom said to me in the kitchen while I washed dishes at Leo's welcome home party, "A baby who wants to be held. There's a kind of bruise you learn to ignore until someone presses it. It looks healed. It isn't." I paid off my student loans early by living small, secondhand couch, no international vacations, rice and beans like I was in a serious relationship with rice and beans. Meanwhile, I replaced Mom's dishwasher because the old one sounds tired, and Dad's truck tires because rubber is rubber, and Anna's phone screen twice because the case is ugly. The year Max turned 9, Mom asked if I could sponsor Leo's summer camp. She texted a brochure, $1,950. "It's nothing to you," she wrote. I said yes and shifted some things around. Max and I canceled our weekend trip to the Science Museum out of town. I told him we'd go later. He nodded and asked if we could build the catapult kit instead. We did, in the living room, and it was fun. But there's a way a kid watches a door that never opens. You start to recognize it. It wasn't just money. It was time. "Hey, you're good with wood, right?" Dad would say, and I'd find myself under a deck pulling out rotten boards while he told me about the neighbor's new sailboat. Or Mom would call. "I signed us up to help set up the church fundraiser. Can you be there at 6 a.m.? Us meant me. Anna had stories like weather forecasts. If she needed something, the clouds in her life would darken just in time. "My car is making this sound," she'd say, and I'd listen, and the sound would be her bank account. Every once in a while, I tried to talk about balance. "I can't do everything," I said once, softly, at Sunday dinner. Mom leaned back like I'd insulted the flag. "No one is asking you to do everything, Christopher. We're asking you to be a son. Your sister needs support." Anna set her fork down. "I didn't ask. Actually, you just volunteered. Don't make me the bad guy." Dad wiped his mouth. "Money comes and goes. Family is forever, right?" he said, and passed the salad. It was easier to put food on the table than boundaries. Then came last spring. Max had a robotics competition. He'd been working on his bot for weeks. He named it Hickory because the chassis was wooden, and he's got a dry sense of humor I pretend I don't love because it makes him self-conscious. The competition was the same day as Leo's piano recital. Mom called me the night before. "We'll all be at the recital, obviously," she said. "It would mean a lot if you showed your face for at least the first half. Anna's counting on us." "Max competes at 10:30, I said. "Can't they move him?" "That's not how competitions work." She exhaled into the phone like I was being difficult on purpose. "He's always on that phone, Christopher. Does he even care?" "He cares about a lot of things," I said, a little too sharp. In the end, we went to the robotics competition. Max came in third and smiled with his eyes more than his mouth, which is how he smiles when it's real. Mom texted me at noon. "You missed it. Leo was outstanding." The mayor's wife cried. When we saw her later that week, She hugged Leo like she'd invented him and patted Max's head like he'd been rescued from a storm drain. The asks kept growing. A cosign on a new apartment for Anna because the landlord loves strong applicants. A suggestion that I roll my bonus into a family vacation to a resort Anna chose. A bleak little conversation about whether I'd consider putting Mom's name on my savings account for emergencies. Whose emergencies? I asked. Family emergencies, she said, like the definition was obvious. And then Grandma's party got announced. Mom sent a group text with a link to a venue and a spreadsheet attached. She didn't assign costs. She didn't have to. A week later, caterer is booked. Chris, you'll handle the invoice. The price tag didn't appear until that thick paper slid across the table. Maybe you're wondering why I never said no. Here's the thing. When you're the guy who fixes things, you get good at doing calculations in your head. What's the cost of a fight compared to the cost of a tire? What's the price of a cold room for Max compared to the price of saying, don't talk about my son that way? Somewhere along the way, I decided I could survive tiny cuts. I forgot tiny cuts add up. The night before Grandma's party, I checked my accounts. I could cover the $5,382.27, but it would mean punting Max's summer coding camp to the fall, and probably another round of explaining to him why his thing gets moved when other people want their thing right now. I closed the banking app and just sat there, with the quiet version of anger that engineers get, the kind where you know the circuit is wired wrong, but you're too tired to pull the panel. Max walked in, holding 2 servos. Dad, can I bring the small kit? I won't work on it. I just want to show Leo. Yeah, I said. You can bring it. He nodded and went to pack. The next day, in that ballroom with clinking glasses and rented flowers, Mom pushed the bill toward me like a joke she knew I would play along with. Everyone expected the same magic trick I've done my whole life. Make the problem disappear and call it love. Instead, I looked at the number, and something very small inside me clicked into place, like a seatbelt. After Mom's toast, people scattered to the dessert table. The band started a slow song. Dad was talking to a cousin about fishing. Anna was arranging Leo for candid photos that looked professionally staged. Max sat with his hands in his lap, eyes on the robot case under his chair. Mom leaned over, tapping the bill with her pink nail. Oh, and there's a service fee if it's not paid tonight. The manager said you can just leave your card and they'll take care of it. I pushed the paper back toward her. Neat, like aligning a component on a board. I'm not paying this. She laughed, high and surprised. Very funny. I'm not paying. I said again, using the same tone I use when I tell a junior engineer, we don't deploy on Friday. Her smile stuttered. Christopher, don't make a scene. I'm not. I kept my voice low. I didn't agree to this. I wasn't asked, and I'm not paying. Anna drifted over, sensing drama like sharks sense heartbeats. What's the issue? He says he's not paying, Mom said, like she was telling a waiter a fork was missing. Anna blinked. Come on, Chris. It's Grandma. We all pitched in. How much did you pitch in? I asked. She opened her mouth, then closed it. I did the work. Dad wandered over now, nostrils flaring like a deer smells a new kind of grass. Everything okay? Chris is having a moment, Mom said. He'll fix it. I stood up. Not dramatically, just to full height. I'm not fixing it. I'm returning it to the people who broke it. Watch your tone, Dad said automatically. Max touched my sleeve. Dad, I put my hand over his. It's okay. Anna crossed her arms. You always do this. Do what? Act like you're above us, she said. We're a family. We share. You share my wallet, I said. And my time. And my patience. And my kids' weekends. Mom's mouth went thin. Don't bring Max into this. You brought him into it when you mocked him from a microphone. I said, still calm. You brought him into it when you taught him that applause matters more than kindness. Someone nearby pretended not to listen so hard they nearly fell into the cake. Mom took a breath, switching tactics. Sweetheart, if it's tight right now, just say so. We can work out a plan. You can pay over a few months. No one is judging. I'm not tight, I said. I'm done. Dad's voice dropped. Don't use that tone with your mother. This isn't about tone, I said. This isn't about revenge. This is about closure. Mom blinked. Closure? On what? Your family, I said. On the job you hired me for without asking. On being the emergency fund with legs. On being the entertainment budget when you want a party that looks like love. Anna scoffed. You make everything about money. You made everything about money when you slid me a bill like a party favor. There was a beat where no one breathed. Mom recovered first. She reached for the bill and flipped it like changing the picture would change the number. If you don't pay, we'll be embarrassed. Think about Grandma. I am thinking about Grandma, I said. I'm also thinking about Max. I'm thinking about the time you passed him over for photos because his smile looked tired. I'm thinking about letting you teach him what love costs. I'm changing teachers. Dad took a half step toward me. Son, don't. No, I said. Not loud. Just a small word with a lock on it. Anna tried a new door. What about the cosign? We put in the application. The landlord is waiting. I'm not co-signing your lease, I said. I'm not co-signing your life. Her face hardened. You're punishing me because your kid is awkward. Max's hand gripped my sleeve tighter. I felt that click again. The sound of something finding the exact right position. We're leaving, I said. Mom made a noise, half laugh, half gasp. Christopher, don't be ridiculous. The photos. Send me a link, I said. Dad said. If you walk out, don't bother coming back. I looked at him. You've been saying that to me without words for 15 years. He didn't have a response to that. People rarely do when you hold up a mirror where they expected a target. I put the bill back on the table, and for the first time in my life, didn't pick up a tab that didn't belong to me. I picked up my son's robot case instead. On our way out, the band switched songs. Someone cheered at the open bar. Mom called my name once, sharp, then softer, like a fishing line being reeled back in. Chris, honey, don't be like this. I turned. Like what? Cold, she said. Transactional. I almost laughed. I learned it from you. Then I walked my son out of a room where he'd been taught to clap for the wrong things. We drove in silence for a few minutes. Max stared out the window, then down at the robot case, then at me. Am I in trouble? No, I said. You're not in trouble. Because of the phone? You can have your phone, I said. I'll let you know if I need your attention. That's the deal. He nodded, relief visible in the way his shoulders dropped. After a beat, he asked, Is Grandma mad? Probably. He thought about that. Is that okay? It's not ideal, I said. But it's okay. My phone started vibrating like a trapped bee. Calls, group texts, a new chat titled Family Emergency, with 23 messages in 2 minutes. We got ice cream. We went home. We built Hickory's new arm, because his pinchers were weak and Max had redesigned them in his head during dessert. At 9 p.m., after Max brushed his teeth, he hovered in the doorway. You're not in trouble either, right? I smiled. No, I'm good. He went to bed the careful way he does, walking around the creaky spot in the hallway without looking at it. At 9:30, my phone buzzed again. 12 missed calls. Then 29. Then 41. A text from Dad. You owe your grandmother an apology and us $5,382.27. A text from Mom. I can't believe you would humiliate our family like this. We raised you better. A text from Anna. Move the money by morning or I'm calling the landlord. I muted the thread. The quiet was almost holy. Sunday morning. I made pancakes. Max poured batter like he was soldering, steady and concentrated. Halfway through breakfast, the doorbell rang. I let it ring. It rang again, then pounding. Then Dad's voice through the wood. I know you're in there. Max looked at me. We're not opening the door, I said calm. We're not a bank. Dad left a letter. When they were gone, I opened it. Invoice outstanding family costs. Typed in Word with clip art. Line items like a bad joke. Decorations, $632.50. Cake, for $110. Emotional distress, to mother, $1,000. Leo's piano lessons, for reasons unclear, $240. Total, $5,382.27. Due upon receipt. I laughed. It wasn't a happy laugh. It was the laugh you make when a machine puts out smoke and tells you it's the user's fault. I scanned the letter into a folder I titled Documentation. Then I opened my banking apps. I removed Mom's view-only access I'd given her years ago to check on you. I switched my main checking account to a new one and updated autopay. I called my HR portal and changed the emergency contact from Mom to my friend Nate from work, a person who, when you say emergency, asks what you need instead of what you owe. The calls kept coming. Mom left 3 voicemails in a row, crying so hard it sounded like coughing. You don't do this to family. Your grandmother couldn't even blow out her candles. Anna is the only one who steps up when it matters. I wrote out a message in my notes app. I edited it. I deleted it. I wrote it again. Finally, I texted the family thread. Going forward, I will not pay your bills. I will not co-sign leases or loans. I will not be the default fixer for events I didn't agree to. If you insult my son, the conversation ends. If you show up uninvited, I won't open the door. I love Grandma. I will visit her separately. If you want a relationship with me, it will be without money strings and without disrespect to my son. If you don't, I accept that. I put my phone face down and made another pancake in the shape of a robot head. It looked terrible. Max loved it. By noon, the narrative machines were working. A cousin posted a vague Facebook status about selfish people who abandon elders. An aunt texted me privately. I don't know what happened, but your mom is devastated. I responded, I won't discuss this. I'm protecting my kid. She sent back a thumbs up, and then, 2 minutes later, a screenshot of my message to Mom. Mom had forwarded it with the caption, "Look how cruel he's become." I blocked my aunt. For the first time in my life, it felt like removing a splinter I'd ignored for years. Monday, I went to work, wrote code, reviewed a design doc, ate a burrito at my desk. At 3 p.m., Mom called my office line. No one has that number except HR and vendors. She must have asked my dad to stop by my office's front desk to drop off cookies. He's charming when he wants to be. The receptionist patched her through. Christopher, do you feel big? Do you feel powerful? I'm in a meeting, I said, which I wasn't, but would be if. I stayed on the phone. This is who you are now, she said. Cold, punishing, calculating. This is who I am now, I said. When you ask me for things I didn't agree to and insult my kid in public. She didn't skip a beat. Max is addicted to that phone, and you're letting it ruin his life. He's coding, I said. On a phone. You're being absurd. I'm hanging up. She switched to tears so fast I got whiplash. I just wanted one night to be special. You took it from me. You took my son's dignity from him, I said. I took a bill back. I hung up. I sat at my desk and stared at a bug ticket about a race condition that had been quietly ruining our metrics for a month. I fixed the bug. I couldn't fix my parents. That night, Anna sent a Venmo request. $5,382.27. Memo, what you owe family. I declined it. She sent it again with a middle finger emoji. I declined it. She sent a $1,000 request labeled Mom's Therapy. I declined it. Wednesday, Grandma called. My grandmother is the only person in that constellation who has ever looked at me and seen Chris, the person, not Chris, the tool. Hi, honey, she said. I hear there was a ruckus. I'm sorry your party got weird. I've had weirder, I said. She laughed. In '73, your grandfather tried to roast a pig in the garage. I laughed too. How are you? I'm old, she said. Are you okay? I think so, I said. I made a line. About time, she said. Your mother will live. She's very upset. She paused. Your mother has been very upset since 1989. Grandma said, tell Max I want to see his little robot Saturday. Max and I brought Hickory to Grandma's apartment. She clapped when it picked up a grape and moved it 2 inches. She told Max he had a good mind. She told me I had a good spine. On the way out, she squeezed my arm and said, don't pay for people to learn you're serious. Charge them. The following week, an envelope arrived. A real invoice, this time on letterhead from a collections agency I recognized as Dad's buddy's side business. Account, family gathering. Amount due, $5,382.27. I called the number, and when the guy answered said, this is Chris. If you continue to contact me about a debt I don't owe, I'll file a complaint. He laughed uncomfortably and said it was just a misunderstanding. The letters stopped. The calls didn't. Mom rotated tactics like a DJ, guilt track, anger track, denial track, nostalgia remix. I stopped listening. I answered only texts that asked about my availability to visit Grandma, and only from Grandma. Everything else was background noise, like a ceiling fan you tune out. I built new routines that sound small unless you've never had them. Wednesday nights were just for Max and me. Pizza experiments, bad documentaries, tinkering. Saturday mornings, we went to the park with a little folding table and set up Hickory for curious kids. Max would explain with his soft professor voice, this is the servo. This is a sensor. It doesn't bite. He looked like sunlight when other kids asked questions. No one clapped. No one needed to. 2 weeks in, Dad sent a final text. You're dead to me. 3 days later, he texted again. Can you look at the generator? It's making a sound. I typed and deleted 5 replies, then wrote, no. Hope you find someone. He wrote back, ungrateful. I put my phone down and taught Max to solder a small joint without melting the board. The thing about saying no is you expect an explosion. And sometimes you get it. But the longer thing, the thing no one warns you about, is the silence that follows. It's big, and it's loud, and at first it feels like you're inside a church alone after the service ended hours ago. Then one day, it feels like home. I saw Mom again 3 months later outside Grandma's place. She held flowers like a peace treaty. Christopher, she said, are you done punishing us? I'm not punishing you, I said. I'm protecting us. She glanced at Max by the car. He's still always on that phone. He's building, I said. If you talk to him like he's a problem, you won't talk to him at all. She sighed. Your father's hurt. He can call a plumber, I said. She gave a small, sharp laugh. You've gotten cold. You taught me, I said. She looked down, then quietly, Grandma's inside. We went up, showed Grandma the robot, and left. At the door, Mom said, how do we fix this? You stop asking for what I don't offer, I said. And I'll answer when you call to talk. She nodded. Fair. That night, Max asked, do grown-ups always fight? Only the ones who confuse love with winning, I said. Weeks later, the family chat was silent. Anna posted Leo's award. I sent one emoji. That was enough. I'm still their son, just not their bank. I won't fund disrespect or mistake quiet for peace. This isn't revenge. It's closure. My name is Chris. I build things that work. Now that includes my life. What would you have done in my shoes? Have you ever had to draw a hard line with your family? Tell me what you think. I really want to know.